Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Raquel, right on. I'm just chilling. Thank you for taking some time here to join us.
Yeah, thanks for pushing back. I just finished practice,
Yeah, of
so
course. Yeah, no, I'm just excited to talk. As mentioned in the email to you, I'm a, of course, longtime fan of MMA. My kids are in it as well, and so it's just kind of, I love talking to fighters and kind of getting to know them a little bit. So,
yeah, that's
uh,
awesome.
how weird was it for you? I guess we'll get right into it. How weird was it for you these last couple of years? Like, sure, you've had a handful of fights. You're on a really nice, was it 4 game or 4 fight win streak?
Yeah.
But how weird was it for you these last couple of years with COVID, and like, what did it change much in your camps, and getting really excited for the fights? And
Obviously, like it was really cool that UFC stayed active, and so they like gave entertainment to the world in these trying times, and then it allowed us to still do our job and have that opportunity to be able to go out and live our dreams. For me, it felt like fighting at the apex. It was almost like going back to the Ultimate Fighter times.
oh yeah,
And so, yeah, so it was like being back in there fighting again, which was really cool to experience and whatnot. But, honestly, I know a lot of people struggled throughout COVID and stuff. And, I had my own battle with COVID, friends who lost their loved ones, and everybody had trying times. But COVID, in another sense, was like a blessing in disguise, because as athletes, we're so tough on our bodies and we have a hard time slowing down sometimes. So it's
mhm,
kind of like forced time off, because at one point the world was shut down, so nobody could do anything. Like Tisha and I turned our garage into a home gym and stuff and whatnot, and we were still getting workouts in, but we just did other things. We actually got house projects done that we needed to get done after all this time, and so it just kind of gave like our minds a mental reset. As far as the last few years, honestly, it's been a crazy few years, just lots of ups and downs. I mean, ever since I fought Misha, it was just like injuries, medical issues, one thing after another.
right.
And so now I finally feel like I'm back on track. I'm in my prime, and I'm more excited than ever. So
Nice. Yeah, of course you're back on track. You're the number 5 ranked bantamweight right now in the UFC. Must be a great feeling, eh?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got in, let's say I've been with the UFC since 2013, and I've been within the top 10 since 2014. And then before my medical suspension with my whole thyroid issue and USADA and stuff, I was actually number 4 in the world. They took me out of the rankings for the 6 months, and they said they were going to put me back. And
Mm,
when they put me back in as 10. So now it's a little frustrating having to work my way up, but like at the same time, it's kind of fun, just because it's like I'm proving exactly where I am at and where I deserve to be.
sure. And I mean, rightfully so that they dropped you down a little bit though, right? If you're not going to be fighting and there's other people fighting and they're climbing their way back up, like, but it's so cool to get back top 5. Like,
Yeah.
like growing up, what did you want to be? Like, how long have you known that you were going to be traveling down the fight path?
When I was 19 and started it.
Really, right
And
away.
honestly, yeah, I didn't think it would go this far. Growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor. I was in school for medical stuff and whatnot. And then, you know, it was always something. I love animals. So at one point it was like marine biology, veterinarian, but then it was just always in the medical field. And then my senior year, I've always been an athlete since I was 5. My senior year, I ended up breaking my back snowboarding, and so I couldn't take any of my athletic scholarships. Yeah, I took an academic scholarship to the university here in Colorado Springs, and I was going through rehab. Fighting was actually a joke. It was just something like, there was one point in life, like when I was 12, I grew up being a big tomboy. My friend at the time, her family came from a boxing background, and I wanted to box. And my parents were like, no, you're too pretty and your teeth are too nice. That's not happening. So the only person I ever fought was my cousin, who's 5 months apart from me. And we were just like, they called us Chip and Dale, the little,
Yeah, yeah.
chipmunks growing up. And so it was just, it honestly, like, that was the one time I ever thought anything of fighting, and other than fighting my cousin. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird how life works. Life changed at that point. And, I remember being at the gym one night and told my mom, hey, I'm going to do that. Like the first team I started with, they were training on those puzzle mats. They were like a half-inch thick. They're doing judo and choking each other out. And I was
Right.
just like, it's really intense. So it's kind of being a brat. And I think my mom just thought it was good to get me going again. So we talked to the coach. Next day went in, my very first training session was sparring, and fought my first fight 4 months later. And then here I am 13 years later. So
That's crazy. What stands out still from the first pro fight?
my first pro fight, it's just funny to see how like I had a really successful amateur career. And then when I went pro, it was like all of a sudden it was more internally, but it got like so serious. And I remember I was fighting Kim Couture, Randy Couture's ex-wife, in Wyoming. And that's when like people were still smoking inside. We were in an old grocery store. They set up like the octagon in the center of this grocery store, made like a stage. And when we were getting ready to walk out, there was exit doors. And I just told my coach, I was freaking out. And I was like, can we just walk out these exit doors? Like, I don't want to do this. And so like, I always laugh about that. And it was just like, you know, it was just for me, like, no matter how much emotions get going, and we all see how emotions can get the best of us.
Sure.
Like my emotions had the best of me, but then I centered myself in the time I needed to. I went out there, and then I ended up getting a TKO win in the second round. And so it was just fun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Was it about maybe a year and a half back where you got a suspension for 6 months? And it was and I read that it was something that it was your doctor had given you a substance that was banned and you didn't realize, or whatever it was. But how frustrating is that like, you're my doctor. How are you giving me these things that I shouldn't be taking?
I think what's more frustrating is the fact that UFC was following this entire, like my entire medical stuff with my thyroid.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was doctors working on the case and stuff and whatnot. And I seen a hormone specialist. And, you know, I mean, we're in a sport where we're constantly cutting weight. It fluctuates our hormones left and right. We're destroying our bodies.
Yeah.
And so I've seen a hormone specialist, and, you know, what is irritating to me, Ashley Evans Smith is actually going through it right now, which I feel for her, just because, you know, it's DHE, but for one, USADA offers a TUE program, and it's supposed to be an exemption program. And we are human beings. We are not invincible. We develop medical issues and stuff. And, you know, there's been so many situations to where they don't even allow athletes when athletes will reach out. I mean, there's guys that like have low testosterone and they're trying to have a family or different things. And like, it is just not a thing. Well, you know, I seen this hormone specialist, and she was like, you know, you don't produce any testosterone. You're extremely estrogen dominant. Like, there's all these things going on. My thyroid just doesn't function at all. And it was just one thing after another. So she put me on some medicine, and the medicine that she put me on was DHEA. Well, in reality, like, I don't know why it's even on the banned substance list, because it doesn't enhance performance. Like, it's considered a fat burner. So what, I'm going to sweat more? Like, okay, who cares? But the alternate use of that is to increase the activity of the thyroid. And, you know, the way the world is, they all feed off of each other. And so you get one thing out there and it's just one thing after another. Well, they said because I technically came forward, even though I called and asked for a TUE, that was me coming forward. And so they gave me a retroactive suspension of the 6 months. But I know Ashley Evans Smith is like going through something very similar with DHEA. And, you know, she just had, I think, spine surgery or something like that. And I think I read that she got like a 14-month suspension for it. And it's crazy. Like, wow. To me, it's just mind blowing. Like, being an athlete, we have a short window. If you're out there doing seriously dumb shit, taking steroids, all this stuff that's really going to affect our performance and like put us above anybody else. Yep. Okay, I get it. And you have all those athletes who have done that and they've run things for other people. But like I said, we're human beings. We have medical stuff. Like, there are things that we need to get treated. And so I'll never understand the program. Like, I do respect the program and the fact that it keeps a clean sport. But there are some things that, like cough medicine, different things that like have certain substances in them that we cannot have. I know, like, I think it's the state of Florida at one time when I think it was Florida or one of the states that I fought in, we weren't even allowed a certain amount of caffeine in our system. So I couldn't have coffee that morning. What? And it was just like, it's just crazy. So it's frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. It kind of was just a blessing in disguise too. What can you do? Yep. And so I just took it for what it was. And, you know, I took the time to myself and did a lot of mental training and, you know, obviously got in better shape and started falling in love with things. And then all of a sudden when I got cleared, I came back and I've been on a mission since. So
Hell yeah, you have been for sure. And how much tape would you watch of an opponent? Like, can you watch too much where they almost get in your head?
yeah, I mean, sure, that can definitely happen. I've always, ever since I started, like, being an athlete, I mean, we would scout the other teams in basketball or whatever else, and like, you just
Yeah.
know things, like you have a general idea. And the same thing, you know, I mean, I've watched film on my opponents, and you can see certain things that they do or certain things that they revert back to, or their habits. And you know, but for the most part, like, I'll watch what I need to watch, and then my biggest focus is focusing on myself, and my team does the rest. They'll watch the videos and stuff, and then they talk to my sparring partners. They have my sparring partners mimic my opponents or whatever. We'll drill the things that we feel like we need to drill, but the main focus and the only thing that I can control is me. And so that's where I just like, all right, I got a general idea, but here it is on what I'm doing. So
Yeah, yeah. Most fighters don't like doing this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Best pound for pound guys and girls.
pound for pound, guys and girls. I don't know. I think honestly, right now, I would probably have to say, like, everybody has their greats. And I mean, there's going to be people that just continue to climb and show different, and nobody's invincible, you know? So I think, as far as like accomplishments, I'd probably have to say, like, women, I'd probably have to say like Valentina and Amanda. Honestly, I mean, Amanda showed a lot of things. But at the end of the day, like, she was exposed back to the normal behavior. That's what I was talking about, like your habits. And so, but I mean, for both divisions, like the things that she's done and stuff. And then Valentina, like, she's just a very calculated athlete. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's almost frustrating watching her, because it's like, you want to see so much more from her, but she does exactly what she needs to, and everything is crisp and it's super calculated. And I mean, the technique is phenomenal. As far as guys, I don't know.
That's
I don't
tough
know.
one.
I like what, yeah, I'm like, there's so many talented ones out there.
I did like watching Johnny Bones Jones. You know, when he first came in and he was just tearing through everybody, it was like, holy man, this guy's got some unorthodox, you know,
He's
style
talented,
of
man.
fights. And you never see like a spinning back elbow, you know.
Yeah,
I
he's a
thought that
talented kid. He just
there is, yeah, he
does stupid
hasn't,
shit.
yeah, he hasn't played his cards very well though.
No. Yeah, I mean, there, like I said, I mean, so many talented athletes out there. So for me, it's just like, I have respect for everybody who steps into the octagon and does this stuff. And, you know,
Sure.
I like watching everybody's different styles. Like, everybody's so unique. Everybody brings something different to the table. And, you know, there could be one technique out there, but we're all going to have our own way of doing things and what works for us and stuff. And it's just cool to see. Like, for me, I think the biggest thing is just watching the sport evolve, especially for women's MMA. Like, it's really cool. When
Yeah.
I first started this sport, I mean, it was not a thing for women. And when I first started fighting, like, actually getting in there, you know, I fought some of the girls multiple times just because of the fact that, like, there wasn't opponents. And now to see, like, the young athletes who are starting at such a young age, and watching the little kids get on the mats and they're out there wrestling and
That's cool,
doing
right?
jiu-jitsu and their little gis, like,
Yeah.
oh man, awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You were mentioning, you know, having some time to do some around the house stuff with Tisha, and of course you're engaged. When's the wedding?
Tisha, when's the wedding?
I'm not in your
Just sitting there. No, we just, like, you know, Tisha and I, we talk about it all the time. We actually, for once, had some time right before COVID, and we started to plan. We were going around looking at venues and stuff and whatnot, and then COVID hit. But, you know, for us, it's just hard. Like, you know, everybody says you make the time for things that are important and whatnot, but, like, our entire life is important. Like, we have really cool careers. Like, we're always doing something. And so it's kind of one of those things to where, you know, I told Tisha, like, I already feel married to her, and we both do want a wedding. I feel like eventually, like, we'll have that time to plan it and have something beautiful and celebrate with our loved ones. But, you know, I mean, if it's not me in fight camp, then it's her in fight camp. Or if neither one of us are in fight camp, we're constantly doing something. So
Right.
when we just get the time to actually like slow down. But I mean, we tell everybody that, and everybody, I think majority of the world thinks we're already married anyway. So
You're right.
we just need paper now.
Yeah. Who'd win in a fight?
Who would win in a fight?
Not that they would ever match that up, being a strawweight now, but
me. I just gotta
love it. All right, let's get outside of fighting quickly, and of course what you're known for. How happy are you that the Depp and Heard case is done? What a fucking mess that was.
Yeah, it was. It was
like, what?
It's funny to me how people are so interested and invested, and like just the fact that like if you're gonna be so invested into something, why do you not have your facts together? And so I was just, you know, it was annoying. I got to a point that I was like, all right, I'm honestly tired of hearing about this thing. I mean, just because I was getting drug into the whole thing, I did go and watch a little bit of it, and I think those girls made themselves look absolutely ridiculous. Like it was just absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it just, you know, through that whole process, it really amazed me how people can take the time out of their day and get online and go say the most disgusting things to another human being. For one, like just watching the messages I was getting, I was just like, wow, like the fact that you even take your time to talk to somebody else like this is just like, it just shows character in people. And it also shows how people just really feed off of each other and why the world is the way it is, you know? I mean, there's so much hatred and there's so much segregation because of people's behavior like this. And so it was, it kind of like broke my heart just to the degree to see reality. But then at the same time, like, you know, I had nothing to do with that case. So I was getting attacked for no reason. And I was kind of just making fun of people with the stuff that they were saying. They would write me these nasty things and how karma's going to get me. And I was like, well, you know, for somebody that's not invested, like, I think karma's coming your direction because you're taking the time to write somebody who has no clue. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. We're huge fans of yours. And I'm just like, get out of here. Like, it just really separates people, you know? And I don't know. It was an adventure to say the least. So
yes, I almost didn't bring it up. I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? I do quickly want to bring it up. But okay, so you talked about watching a little bit of it. What have you actually been binge watching lately?
Binge watching? Well, Tisha and I were on a kick with the Lincoln Lawyer series, but I actually started rewatching the 3rd season of the Mayans MC.
Oh yeah.
So that would go into the 4th season because we watched so many dang shows in between training and just trying to relax that like I forgot what it was about. And so I'm kind of just doing a quick catch up and then gonna go into the 4th season. But everybody keeps trying to talk about it. I'm like, no, stop.
Yeah. Just stop it. Don't text me. Don't talk to me about it. Like I don't want to hear anything about it.
Yeah.
Of course. How close was, when you say you broke your back, like how close was that to near death? Do you have a near death story?
Probably everything I do in my life. I have an adrenaline. I'm a little adrenaline junkie. And so I do things that we were actually just talking about this yesterday, but like now that I'm older and I think back to things I was doing, like too many things.
Right, like how did I live through that? How did I not die there? Like
no, for real. Like, but I mean, you know, I love the stories and, you know, I love the life that I've lived and the adventures I've had. And now that I'm getting older, like I am more cautious, but there are things that like I'm still going to go out and do and live my life. I mean, I can trip and fall getting out of bed tomorrow morning, hit my head on the dresser, and that can be the end of it. Like, you don't know.
Sure.
And so it's just like, I believe in living life to the fullest, but, no, my back, you know, I mean, it held me up for a little while and I had a lot of like, sciatic issues and whatnot. And I still get them if I don't stay too active. Like when I take some time off, my back will start acting up and I can feel those previous injuries. And it's just like, it's more frustrating than anything. It was frustrating to have to be in crutches, have a back brace on, like having to like learn I lost so much flexibility. Like it just created a lot of issues, but that's any injury for you. I think I would probably say like one of my worst injuries was actually before I fought Amanda and I ended up breaking my leg and sustaining the nerve damage that I did. I barely avoided amputation, so life could have really changed there. And
Wow.
you know, I mean, I can't feel half of my leg.
No.
Yeah, so it's like an interesting feeling, but like when it initially happened, I was already in an 18-month layoff, had major surgeries after the Misha Tate fight, and then they offered me the biggest fight of my career for the world title. And it was like, you know, I came back, and then all of a sudden I ended up in that accident, and I just pushed myself. And, you know, I mean, I fought through a broken hand. My last fight, I busted my hand and kept going. And, you know, I've done things, but this one was just one of a kind. And when Amanda kicked it in that first round, like, I was like, oh, something is really wrong. And I've never felt pain to that degree. So like, I really had to slow down and learn how to function with that. We had to get like the nerve conduction test. We had to do all kinds of stuff to my leg. I like lived in physical therapy. And it was just like, all right, like I need to take this thing like really serious and figure it out. And, you know, they were worried about like drop foot, compartment syndrome in my leg. Like there were so many things. My calf was like rolled up, and they were like, if your calf is torn, like there's nothing we can do. We can't go back in there and sew it, because that would basically be like trying to sew hamburger meat together. It doesn't work. And so like, yeah, I like that injury that was a rough one to try to come back from, and like just trying to get like everything back. And, you know, I mean, with my leg tightening up, it created lower back issues. And so needless to say, all the stuff I've been doing since I was 5, I always joke with Tisha, I'm like, are you sure you want to like do this life with me? Because when I'm like, I'm 33, but she sees me on my time off, and I'm just like a little old viejita, like I'm griping and complaining, everything hurts. And I'm like, you sure you're gonna want to do this? Because you're probably gonna have to like wipe my ass at 60. Like,
rough
like
on the body,
move.
right? Rough on the body.
Yeah.
A lot of fighters will use like CBD to, you know, recoup the body quicker and that sort of thing. Yeah.
I do all kinds of stuff. Thankfully, you know, I've been blessed with an awesome medical team behind me and stuff. So I have all the resources, and it's what keeps me functioning and everything and whatnot. And, you know, I know my body the best. And so it works, but the injuries are definitely frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. Raquel, I told you I was be maybe 15, 20. We're at 20 now. I'll ask 2 more if that's cool, and then we'll wrap it up.
For sure.
Okay. So I don't know how to put this. So what's the most you've ever lost, I guess, to have to lose to get weight for a fight?
The most I've ever lost, when I rematched Jessica Andrade in our second fight, they called us on a 3-week notice. I actually wasn't in the gym for 7 months. I was on vacation. I was like spending quality family time, just kind of doing my own thing. And I was actually 167 pounds. So I had to drop from 167 to 136 3 weeks. And
oh my God.
That was a rough one. But
yeah.
I had an awesome fight. I got a performance bonus that night, and
yeah,
it was worth it, but never again.
Right, so,
you know.
So the second part of the question is, what's your cheat foods? We know that you have to watch your weight. What are your cheat foods?
It kind of just depends. Honestly, I mean, I'm Hispanic. I come from a huge Hispanic family, and you know, we grew up with homemade food, tortillas, pan dulce, like, so I actually love Mexican sweetbread, pan dulce. But really it just kind of depends. Like, it's mostly like carbs that I'll go crazy with.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, just my meal in general, like I'm a steak girl. I love me a nice steak, you know, salad and freaking some like cheesy potatoes or something, which is just kind of like a decently balanced meal. But if I'm going to be like, my internal fat kid's going to come out, I'm eating all the homemade cookies and everything else.
That's great. And last question. I love finding out about first concerts. What was your first concert you went to?
My first concert was actually NSYNC. I remember that. My best friend growing up, she was my first friend. We've been friends since kindergarten, and she was going to go to the NSYNC concert. She asked her mom, so her mom and my mom got together and they took us, and we were just in there doing our whole bop at the Mile High State. Yeah.
That's too good. That's too good. What's the rest of 2022 looking like for you?
Well, right now I'm trying to get back from, I've been on a mission. I just fought Aspen in April, and as far as the damage that I came out of the fight, I had only a fat lip, but then of course my hand was busted, so I had surgery. Just trying to get this thing functioning again. And as soon as my hand will bend and I can actually make a full fist and start punching with it, I want to get another fight in there. I would love to fight Ketlin Vera for a title elimination match, and then I want that world title shot again. So my goal is by the end of the year to be set up, if not fighting for the world title, to be set up for it, and then start 2023 off with fighting for the world title. So yeah, we'll get there.
Badass. That would be badass. You're easy to find online. Rocky P MMA on Twitter, Raquel_Pennington on Instagram. Is there a website you want me to promote?
No, I don't have one right now. I'm kind of like working on all kinds of stuff. Everybody's always asking, when are you going to get more Team Rocky swag? That'll be coming out. And just on those 2 social media platforms that you listed, I'll put that information out there when I get to it. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for doing this with us today, Raquel, and I guess we'll see you online.
Awesome. It was good
talking to you.
Have a great
day. Thanks again.
You too.
Cheers.